You could have given me any amount of guesses in this world as to how this chapter of Hunter x Hunter was going to go, and nowhere in any of those guesses would I have thought about a Phantom Troupe origin story, because that's exactly what Togashi Senpai gave us, and honestly, I am all here for it. But before we go any further, I'd like to ask that if you do enjoy this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because it really does help me out. Appreciate you. But the chapter opens up with Henry figuring out what the Haley family are doing with their Nen ability, noticing that they are actually just warping about the gaff. He figures this out by going back to his camcorder. Yeah, you like that pun? Yeah, I know you do. But he figures this out by going back to his camcorder and watching the recorded footage from the members of the Haley family entering one way into a room and returning via a different direction. If you can't remember and need a refresh, Henry's Nen ability is one of those more unique ones in the series, with him being able to turn any device or object he touches into a living creature. The device or weapon can retain its original function and can be manipulated at will, which is what he did with the recorder cat here. We see Henry and Wang sitting down and discussing a plan of action upon this newfound information about the Haley's mode of transportation and whereabouts. Wang tells Henry that he's informed the troop about the door and to send them to investigate, with Wang telling Henry that the troop have said it doesn't matter if there is a trap. In tried and true Phantom Troupe fashion, we see Nobunaga, Finks, and Phaeton all arriving at the room supposedly harbouring this secret Haley hideout. They waste little to no time entering the room, with Phaeton looking at our random goon here is square in the eye and giving him a mighty intimidating look. I often forget that Phaeton is like 4'11" or some shit. One of the most intimidating characters in the series, even looking like an actual child. But the troop investigates the room and Nobunaga decides to slice a square into the wall. I've got to be honest here, because I totally got baited by this scene, because I genuinely thought that this was his Nen ability and I got really excited. But it turns out it's just me being an idiot and he actually cut a square into the wall with his sword. But we see the group entering the secret room via the square that was just cut into the wall, and it looks like the room of the members where the Haley were just posted just a couple of chapters ago, and Finks is questioning why they'd send the rookie to face them, with Nobunaga replying a scapegoat play, sacrificing him to make sure that others stay on their toes. They're just like us. Losing a comrade has a massive impact on them. This is Nobunaga comparing the Haley family to themselves, in which Finks totally disagrees, and he says, "We are nothing alike. We don't let rookies in, and we don't want to destroy the world." This is where the chapter gets super interesting, as Nobunaga replies, fueled by despair and anger, "We were searching for a purpose." And this is where we get to see a flashback of none other than Meteor City and a young Phantom Troupe. I didn't think that this chapter was going this way, but here we are. We're introduced to this completely different side of the troupe we could never have even imagined. We get to see a young Chrollo, Franklin, and a character who I'm not sure we've seen yet, running from a young Uvagan and Machi. We see them stealing a VHS tape that they hope will have anime on it, only for them to run square into the path of one young Finks and what I think might be a young Phaeton, potentially. Finks tells Chrollo to hand over the tape, and we see Chrollo be an adept in deception early on in his life by handing Finks a fake tape. We see Chrollo returning to a church-looking place that reminds me of an orphanage, where he mentions more tiny graves have appeared outside. We see this priest-looking dude telling Chrollo how more and more raiding parties have appeared in the city and they're abducting more and more kids, and tells him not to visit the city outskirts alone. We then get some explanation into just how dark their upbringing was, as we see in the panels reading the following. The people of Meteor City have no social status. Officially, they do not exist. This made them prime targets for nefarious individuals. Hundreds died every year before the city gained protection in exchange for providing recruits for the mob. 70% of those casualties were children under 15. As the partnership unfolded, Meteor City's elders developed Nen powers, and the law of retribution was established. Only life can pay for life. We'll accept anything you leave here, but don't ever take anything away from us. The spiders were just learning to crawl by the time the city of the fearful became the city of the feared. Those two panels alone just show you just how dark of an upbringing that these spiders had, and just how crazy they eventually turn out to be here. But we see Chrollo going into a room to study the tape he stole from Uvo and Finks, only to bump into a young Paku, and we see them have an exchange, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but the way they interact here gives me childhood sweetheart vibes. And this panel of Paku staring at Chrollo kinda nails it home a little bit further for me. But we see this priest talking to this old guy about Chrollo, saying how Chrollo shows a lot of promise and his counsel may be useful useful to the elders in solving the problems that plague Meteor City. I'm assuming Togashi has plans for this arc within an arc here, and it'll span a couple of chapters so we see what happens and what is actually happening inside of Meteor City. My theory is that every flashback they'll age a little bit until we see them at ages that they are now. Moving on to the next panels, we see Chrollo and Paku looking super cozy watching some anime, which reminds me so much of the Ginyu Force from Dragon Ball Z. And they talk about how cool it'd be to dub over it with their own voices once they've translated it. If I'm honest, seeing these characters talk about anime and stuff like this seems so surreal considering the acts of sheer violence we've seen them commit in the future. It's hard to even imagine these innocent kids grew up into one of the most feared crime syndicates in the world and some of the most powerful nen users in the world. But we see Chrollo telling Paku he loves her, like I said, childhood sweethearts here. It can be interpreted the two ways, just friends telling each other they love each other, or maybe childhood sweethearts. Maybe I'm reaching for that one. But then we see Chrollo, Paku, Saris, and Sheila all discussing when they'll be doing the recordings for their anime dubs. It's at this point in the chapter closes out with it showing us raiders who've been stalking around and abducting children, and the chapter closes out with a statement: innocent voices untainted by darkness. And oh my god, I have to say that this chapter took me by complete and utter surprise here. Like seriously, it is a very, very welcomed break from the confusion and chaos that is the Succession Wars right now. Togashi Senpai just delivered a complete masterpiece with this chapter, and I know I was somewhat complaining about the previous chapter, about it being too text heavy and too many characters being introduced all of a sudden, but all is forgiven, Mr. Togashi Senpai. You have treated us well with this one, and I apologize for my former complaints. I also like how Chrollo was shown to be this studious bookworm type of character from an early age. It's fitting for his nen ability, which involves him using a book, and it just shows you just how intelligent that this man is as he's grown up. If his intellect is already being noted by elders in his city, potentially being considered for counsel to help them solve the problems within the city. Overall, this was a fantastic chapter and a total but really welcome surprise, and I'd love to see more of this. But that is all from me. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you want to support the channel even further, consider becoming a member, as it truly does help out a lot. But until next time, much love, big kisses, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.